Welcome to Energy Espresso, the podcast that's brewing bold conversations and powerful insights. Dave Bosco is your guide to energizing ideas and electrifying discussions on all things energy and power. Each episode will perk up your perspective as we sit down with industry leaders and experts who are shaping the future over a great cup of coffee. So grab your favorite blend, settle in, and get ready to stay fully charged. This is Energy Espresso. Let's get brewing.
Good morning and welcome to the Energy Espresso. My name is Dave Bosco and we are here in Spring, Texas at Hunting Subsea Technology. And I've got Neil Rogerson with me today. Neil,
Morning,
how you
Dave.
doing, bud?
I'm great, thanks. Really looking forward to the conversation this morning with you and just showing some of what we can do here in spring and in the wider Hunting Subsea Technologies.
I love it. So folks, we're going to get the conversation energized here shortly, but since we're here on location, Neil, you guys have a pretty cool milestone that you guys wanted to announce. And why don't we talk about that really quick? And then we're going to look at some gear because I think everybody likes seeing hardware and understanding what we're talking about today, what it actually looks like and how it works at the seabed floor.
Yeah, for sure, Dave. We're really excited in terms of this is the 100th unit that we've delivered now of our flow access modules, our FAM. And for myself and the team who've been working this technology now for 10, 12 years, it's just great to be able to celebrate 100 units going soon to be on the seabed, you know?
Yeah, that's an awesome milestone. I didn't bring a bottle of champagne with me to go ahead and crack it on the unit, but why don't we walk over here and you can kind of unpack for us. For the person who's not familiar with subsea technology and what happens, below the surface that we all see on the ocean floor. What are we looking at, Neil? What is a FAM and what's the value that it delivers?
Okay. Yeah, so FAM, a flow access module, is what we've termed it. It's a retrievable module with some kind of technology within it that enhances and helps with the subsea production. So what you've got here, and this one particularly, this is a multi-phase meter in the middle of the FAM module.
Right.
So that's used in terms of measuring flow, oil, gas, water, and helping the customer ascertain what's happening and what's coming out of the well itself. We've packaged it relatively neatly here. It's on a clamping arrangement with a single drive screw to allow you to clamp that onto a hub that's within the pipeline system adjacent to the major subsea production elements. A real core part of what we do is a lot of this metering type technology. It differentiates itself in terms of it being retrievable, being relatively easily installed. It's on a single hook, it comes down on a crane on a single hook, one ROV, the single connection, and then able to latch it onto the pipeline system. So it's simple in its sort of concept, but it's the real value is around the retrievability of it, the flexibility that it gets in terms of being able to exchange different types of technology throughout the life of the oil well. And then indeed, nothing's perfect in this world. We do have some challenges and things being broken or things not functioning correctly. The retrievability and the maintainability, it can always be simply done in terms of that cycle time to get it off and get something there replaced and have everybody back up and running.
That's super neat.
So we've got this is one of the core, and we've done quite a number of the 100. The vast majority will have been multi-phase meters or single phase meters within the technology. But through here we've got some different examples. These two units just right in front of us. These are simple flow through modules. So you may not yet know what kind of technology you would want when you're developing the field. So this is basically a simple U-bend that goes onto the hub and allows production to flow. But again, in the same way, you've got this simple hook for installation, single clamp on, and when the decision is made in terms of what kind of technology you might want, that's removed relatively quickly, and we get into another module that actually helps the production.
That's super cool. And really quick, Neil, the different interfaces that we're seeing on the FAM here, are these all standardized to where, any technology essentially can plug into this? Because you had shared with me previously before we started recording that, this is like the USB hub kind of technology, right? Where everything is agnostic.
Yeah.
Customers don't have variability between their different sites and installations.
Yeah.
Can you explain how you guys landed on that and why you picked the arrangement that you've landed on with this tech?
So the agnostic word is very true. We're not. We want to be more a technology partner.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our work is based around relationships, connecting with our customer and understanding their challenges, and then being that technology partner that we help them solve some of those challenges without being tied to any specific system or technology. All standard ROV type interfaces. We have one particular type of meter in here, but we've delivered with other OEM manufacturers' meters, for example.
Mm-hmm.
These are all standard interfaces, standard construction equipment in terms of ROVs in the seabed and the vessels that are required. There's no specialist installation equipment specifically required. So it's really very, very simple,
Very cool. So it's your standard hand tools, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
in the subsea world.
Yes, it is. It's very much that. As I say, we don't want to have a particular running tools. There's not any other additional installation equipment that is anything particularly special. It's just nice, clean, and simple to be able to do things quick and provide that flexibility.
That's important for a customer.
Yeah. We're quite excited about this one at the back, Dave.
Okay.
This is a unit that we're going down to Brazil. This is more around a gas system.
Okay.
It's a combination of gas lift and metering. New design. So the team had to come up with this back home in Aberdeen in terms of engineer it from the ground up. But again, it's still based around all of these standard interfaces, the same kind of clamping arrangement,
Mm-hmm.
the same installation in terms of the connections into the rest of the production system, using all those standard interfaces as well. So it brings the same flexibility, the ability to do things a little bit quicker, and that retrievability in terms of working throughout the life of the oil well.
That's awesome. And with this unit going to Brazil, that's going to be operating in Guyana area?
No, this is down into Brazil, offshore Brazil itself.
Offshore Brazil itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's good. And just quickly, because you made the point about the USB. The core piece of this is a dual bore hub. We've got a little example over here.
Okay.
And this is, we like to tag it, if you will, as Subsea Production System USB hub. So you can imagine this connected into, from this end, a pipeline system.
Okay.
Jumper connected into the pipeline system and through the bottom of this hub as well. You create this flow loop, for want of a better description, within that pipeline system. And again, a standard interface for one of these units then to clamp down on top of that. So that's your USB hub in computing and laptop world. And these are your peripherals that are relatively simply changed out, reconnected, changed out through the life of field. So on your laptop, do you want a camera? Do you want a microphone? Do you want more? You want more memory capacity? I don't know. You can obviously very easily click those in and out, and it's a similar underlying concept that we've tried to bring to bear here in terms of what we do with FAM.
That's really cool. And I would imagine for a customer, there's some value with that, right? If you've got a standard interface that can connect to multiple different peripherals, let's go ahead and use that word.
Yeah.
That minimizes the lift to go ahead and exchange or do work down at the, at the seabed floor.
Yeah.
Probably minimizes costs, reduces engineering lift, a number of different pieces that can add some complication when you're, working over or doing maintenance on a well, right?
Exactly that. It's that ability to somewhat de-risk your initial development, because you don't necessarily have to invest in multiple different types of technology right from day one. You can install a FAM-enabled, let's say it, architecture, bring it on stream, start to properly understand what the reservoir is doing and what the wells are doing, and then you have the USB interface to bring that to bear. So you can mitigate some upfront cost and capex, and you can simplify any upgrade or maintenance throughout the life of field.
That's really cool. And this is a big departure. Correct me if I'm wrong, because look, my career has been on land. The offshore piece of this has mainly been, at the structure itself, where you've got a rotating machinery and
Up
equipment.
on the top
Yep,
sides.
on the top side,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if you have this type of system, and I've got, call it, I'm an operator, I've got 15, 20 wells operating in the Gulf of Mexico. I no longer have to support each of these installations as like a boutique, designed as built for that specific well. This allows me to have some standardized designs across the overall infrastructure. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that, and it's true that, okay, I'm based in Aberdeen, part of Hunting, a global organization, but throughout our lifetime as a business, fantastic support here in the Gulf, and the deep water applications, the fast moving sort of approach to doing some of these developments. We've got a number of customers that is exactly that. So the sort of major building blocks, be it manifolds or Christmas trees within their subsea architecture, they can standardize on those, and then they've got this USB ability to then upscale or adjust the technology that they have in that complete field of 15 wells or whatever you mentioned yourself.
That's really cool. And that's got to make an engineer's life a lot easier, right? Because it can be kind of a bear to go ahead and support multiple different types of installations, because there's some nuance with every well, right?
Yeah.
But at least if they know the call it like 60, 70% is common between each of those installations, they've got a pretty good baseline of what the deviation is that they have to support.
Yeah, I mean, we get, and I don't pretend to be an expert on this at all, Dave, but typical challenge in terms of understanding your reservoir, being able to maximize the economic value and the recovery out of that reservoir, and understanding that technology you might need from year 1 to year 20, that's a huge challenge. So given the ability to, one, bring it on stream maybe a little bit quicker, and then as you understand that, the combination of your geology people and the reservoir team working with the subsea team, you can as I say, maximize what you can recover from the field.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Get more squeezed out of that orange.
Get more squeezed out of it. Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Well, while we're going to go ahead and transition over to finishing the podcast recording inside. But before we do that, Neil, with these, this being the 100th unit over here that's being shipped, where is the general installation of these units across the globe right now?
Just as I said, so of the 100, I'm going to say, and I don't know for sure, of the 100, I'm going to say between 75 and 85% is here in the Gulf. Then after that, it's West Africa, and with a little handful in the North Sea. But the big plays, the deeper water, diverless installation is here in the Gulf and in West Africa. This one, as I mentioned, going to Brazil for us, we see that as the next area that we seem to have a lot of traction. We have good engagement with more the independent operators as well, in terms of their ability to do things quickly. So that's starting to emerge down in Brazil. So we expect to continue to do a whole lot here in the USA, but we're really, really excited about what we can do down in Brazil as well.
That's awesome. And what we may be able to do, we're going to check to see if you guys have some footage or some still pictures that we can show what's actually happening with the installation of one of these. Because folks, that's, we don't have the luxury when, like we do on land, where you can go and actually see, at a location, something being installed. I would imagine it's quite the experience, and almost feels like a little Titanic moment, being able to watch, a piece of equipment installed down at the seafloor. What is the depth? Maybe one more question, Neil, that this is going to be installed at, because that may be a question a lot of people are asking. What's considered like super deep sea?
So, I mean, in maybe coming from the UK, it's in metric. So we're saying 3,000 meters. This stuff's designed like to at least 9,000, 10,000 feet. Yeah, 3,000 meters, and it ranged. We've got some stuff in West Africa, maybe near the 600, and we're into the 1,800 to 3,000 meters here in the Gulf. And it'll certainly be that kind of nature when this one goes down into Brazil for sure.
Yeah, that's way deeper than I can dive.
Yeah, that's sure.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and transition inside, and folks continue the conversation with Neil and myself. All right, folks. So we went ahead and called an audible. Neil, we were going to go inside and speak in the conference room, but I just, I think we both agreed like being next to this equipment and having the opportunity to speak to it while we're, recording the rest of the podcast seemed appropriate.
Yeah, I would agree, David. I mean, we said earlier on, the ability to come and really touch the steel and understand it that way. So yeah, let's keep going. I'm enjoying it, and it's nice to be sitting amongst it right now.
Awesome. I love it. So we like to usually kick off the podcast with the getting energized portion. I had the greatest plans today to go ahead and I prepared the AeroPress with a nice cup of coffee that I was going to bring, my little teapot kettle. And apparently, planning is everything, folks. So you got to do your checklist in the morning. I forgot a piece, but Lori Blue, who is the young lady that went ahead and supported us with getting this all set up, she actually made us what I like to call shop coffee. So what we've got here is the normal coffee that the guys would go ahead and drink here at the shop. So Neil, why don't we go ahead and get the conversation energized, and we'll continue.
Fantastic.
Cheers. That's good. All right. So since we are on the coffee portion here, what do you do in the morning to get energized and get ready?
For me, are you talking from up and away?
Yep.
Well, I do like to get myself out and get active. I've got a Springer Spaniel at home back in Scotland, so a couple of mornings a week I'll be out walking or trying to run with him, and I spend a little bit of time in the gym. But in terms of my routine, up, ready, I've got a coffee machine in the house at home, pour a coffee into the car, into the gym, and then I'm done a little bit of a workout, showered, and I'm in the car to the office with a coffee in my hand.
Good. No, we need, I like to say, especially with the energy espresso, we like to, join the culture of coffee with the energy industry. Oil and gas energizes the world.
Yep.
And we start our mornings off, most of us, with having a cup of coffee to get ready for the day. And it's appropriate that you got to have a cup before you get going in the morning. So I guess continuing from there, Neil, one thing that I always like to do is highlight, who is Neil? What's your background? How'd you get started? Because from conversations we've had, there's some really cool history when we're talking about this fam. And you had mentioned 12 years ago, kind of the inception, is that correct?
Yeah,
of this product.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us some of your background and feather into that part of the story?
Okay, so I came into the industry in 1991. I did an engineering degree at Heriot-Watt in Edinburgh in Scotland, and did 5-6 years with an old established UK business, John Brown. Then into the mid-90s, I moved into the Subsea world. It was starting to grow, certainly over in Europe. And I got into working with what is essentially a precursor to Subsea 7 now. So it was Stolt offshore. Worked with those guys for about 5 years, offshore on dive boats, pipe-lay vessels, doing the engineering onshore, and then taking that whole job offshore for construction. So it was doing all of the tie-in work, as I say, and putting the architecture on the seabed. In the early 2000s, I got the opportunity, I was asked to go and work on a particular project with BP. So I moved from the service side into the operator side, and worked with BP for a little while. And I had roughly 5 years each with CNRI and then Apache. And that was fantastic as well. That got me a lot of international exposure. I was working in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, South Korea, down in Africa, Cote d'Ivoire and Gabon, and got to work with some pretty cool technology. The world's first raw water injection system on the seabed, electrically heated downhole completions, and a complete 24 kilometers of a pipeline system that was electrically heated.
Wow.
Remote operated welding so welding up the pipelines with remote operators topsides, and that whole kit being worked on the seabed. So it was fantastic. But that got to me, to your point, around about 12-ish years ago. Yeah, 2012, 2013. And I was looking for something a little bit different. one of my colleagues that I'd worked with in my BP days, we were kind of bumped into each other, and I was looking to do something in a kind of startup form. They already had an idea, and so 5 of us got together and set up a little business they called Enpro Subsea, which was based around with some ideas of the farm. But yeah, so we got together and thought, what can we do in the subsea space? What are the challenges that people are seeing, the customers are seeing, and took it from there. And I guess to your point about moving into what the business is all about, and actually I'm jumping around a little bit, but
That's okay.
how we're now that we're part of the hunting family, it was such a good fit at the time when we joined the hunting family. But go back to that time, there was sort of 2 key things that we thought about. One was some strong engineering capability, technology capability within the team. So to be able to get to know our customer very well, to be able to understand a number of their challenges and try and build a real strong partnership with them, to be a technology partner, if you will. That was one area. And I guess the best we sort of showcase of that is back over in the North Sea, we're quite heavily involved in some decommissioning of the older assets. And we've managed to solve a particular problem for one customer back then in sort of 2013, 14. And we've been working with that group of people now right through since that time. So that partnership has been so strong. And the guys back home are in the middle of the planning to do this year's sort of campaign of work. So that bringing the technology or the technical capabilities to bear to solve the problems was one. And the other area was in more in this hardware side, the farm, was, how do we address that? Everybody's talked a lot over the years about standardization in the subsea space in terms of hardware. And it was really, this is what the idea of farm was driven by. You had that period, sort of 2008 to 2013, 14, huge oil price, everybody really trying to just go for everything. And it was a fantastic period to be in, but it was a little bit unsustainable, as we found out, obviously, and have subsequently, there's been that reset.
Yep.
So it was all to try and come up with something that helped standardize on the subject, helped standardization, I should say, of the subsea architecture. So that was the 2 drivers around setting the business up,
That's super cool. Let's kind of unpack that a little bit. I almost look at it, we've got some electrical J boxes over here, right? And you go back to the early times, everybody had their own interfaces, their own connectors, and it made it really tough to support it, make sure people were being safe. What you guys are really doing is setting like this benchmark of standard, correct me if I'm wrong, that allows any operator, regardless of what their infrastructure looks like, to have this specific type of interface connection that can be standardized across every single asset.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Super cool.
Dave, we talked earlier on, we like the word agnostic. We don't want to get too tied up. But again, we have worked with, in terms of end users and with some of the big tier 1 organizations. We're looking again to partner with those guys and be aligned with what they're trying to achieve. So it's coming at standardization from a slightly, it's not like trying to absolutely, so everything.
You're not putting them in a box.
The old Model T, you can have any color you want as long as it's black.
Yeah.
Kind of standard. We're not saying that you have to have everything, but it's trying to bring into bear sort of a core architecture. So you standardize on the core architecture, and that helps the de-risking, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of de-risking of project delivery. It helps with possibly reducing initial capex, those kind of things. And then, so be able to standardize on the skeleton, if you will, and then have the flexibility through farm, for example, to then bring that to bear and provide the capability, the operability of the complete system.
Love it. I love it. And I really appreciate how, when you talk about working with partners, your customers, you use the word partner. A lot of businesses, they take the approach of, hey, we know best. You obviously, from your career, probably other folks on that initial team had experience working at a operator or working with operators, but going to a customer and saying, hey, even if it's a blank sheet of paper, like, what could this look like?
Yeah.
What would make your life easier? Growing with those folks and developing that alongside kind of the with them, what's in it for me as a customer. That's a great way to run a business. And that's where I see you actually address challenges, bring a solution to bear, and bring some value that they're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, it wasn't, what I say, it's not like we just, oh, here's a real cool widget, let's make the widget kind of thing. It's that solution to address a problem. So bringing a solution to bear. You're right. I fortunate to be able to navigate my career and have that, both an oil field service sort of experience, and marry that with working with the operator. So you understand the drivers a little bit from both sides. And that's true. There was a few of us in the team had that experience. So we're able to just, think through what we're trying to achieve with, okay, a widget, but it's not just making the widget for widget's sake, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you're at the end of the day, you've got a piece of hardware, but there's a service that's associated with it. It's got to be easy to install, to where you're highlighting kind of the universal connections, the way that, these pieces of equipment can be deployed going into that installation. No, I love what you guys have done with this product. It really takes me to, Neil, the next topic here is hunting, right? We're here at Hunting Subsea Technology. What is hunting? What other divisions of the business exist? And who are you guys as an organization?
Wow.
So I know that's pretty broad and loaded, but...
No, I mean, hunting, what I would say is really cool about hunting. So hunting celebrated 150 years last year in 2024. So originated as a UK business. It's continued to be grow and become listed in the UK. So it's a listed PLC in the UK. But it was 150 years old last year, and there are still some of the folks from the hunting family involved and employed in the business as we speak today.
Wow.
I think that's a pretty unique place to be quite honest.
That is really
good. So, and what is it? I think operating over something like 11 countries over the 4 continents. They operate in energy, aerospace and defense, the utilities, telecoms type market, transportation. I think there's sort of key areas that hunting works in. They are really similar to ourselves, and that's why I say that there's a good fit. It's about high quality precision manufacturing and high technology componentry, and then providing that technical solution as well. That would be in a very quick summary of where hunting are, So they're involved, as I say, energy, the subsea part, but there's also the downhole pyrotechnics and completions, well intervention in the energy market, involved in starting to transition into the renewables area with likes of carbon capture, things like that. So that, I think, does that give you a little bit of a flavor of where we are?
You guys are well diversified.
Yeah.
From an organizational perspective, Neil, you had shared with me that, you guys have been kind of approaching this business a little bit differently with the team, right? And you've got organizations where you have a lot of siloing, maybe, that normally is put into play. But with a product such as this, where it's not, let's call it customized for every single installation, you have a series repeatable solution.
Yeah.
How are you guys addressing that from a team perspective with this product line and from an organization?
That's brilliant. So, as I say, hunting 150 years old. For us in Subsea, we the Subsea Technologies group has been in hunting, let's say, since, if I get this right, 2008. So the hunting had been in the subsea arena since 2008. But in 23, Subsea Technologies was created more as a global business unit. And in there, you've got 3 legacy business ourselves, the team here in Spring, and another group. I guess the original Subsea team are down in Stafford here in Texas. But we brought that as at the beginning of 23. We have since then, certainly from our point of view, we've moved all of the assembly and test of the hardware, because I mentioned to you that the sort of the volume of delivery we've had here in the US. So we are now working alongside our Spring colleagues to deliver all of this stuff here. So all of the US delivered equipment, let's call it, is manufactured, assembled here. We've started to integrate the team in terms of people on, let's call it Enpro USA, as part of our team is sitting here in Spring. As we move forward, for example, last week I was involved in a conversation about our engineering team back in Aberdeen, working alongside our colleagues here for a Brazil project. Nothing to do with this equipment, but more to do with the Spring project. So our engineering team getting integrated into working with Spring.
Okay.
So that's some of the stuff that we've been doing in terms of Subsea Technologies as a global group. We're with 3 legacy business, and we're just continuing to integrate and sort of have very much that one team mindset, you know.
That's awesome. So you're putting together a group of ninjas or a SWAT team to go ahead and support customers.
Yeah.
It's important because, I mean, regardless of where the installation is at, you know, having that core group of knowledge holders that, you know, can support the heck out of a customer, because that's really important. Post business development, sales guy goes in there, they close the deal. Now operations and installation comes into play, right?
Yep.
And making sure expectations are set really well on the front end, and then that execution, that's important with business and a project.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I mean, that's what we tried to do. And you talked to there, you know, the front end, the BD and the sales effort. That was the first piece that we really looked to integrate across all of the groups. So, you know, our guys are working on any and all opportunities, and it might be a Spring product, let's call it that. It might be a Stafford product, or it might be our product. But there's no separatism, if you will. That everybody's aware of the potential for and bounce ideas off each other and understand where there might be opportunity that, okay, it's not a fan opportunity, but is it a Spring opportunity? Is it a Stafford opportunity? And vice versa. So that front end very much was pushed initially, let's say, and now we're bringing that integration to bear in the operational sort of arm of the business, you know?
That's important because you've got those folks having touch points where that customer might have not thought like, oh, I didn't know hunting offers this, right? Because the business development guy for that product line maybe wasn't having that touch point, but you guys have that relationship and are able to expand kind of the service offering that you can bring to bear with those customers. That's important.
Yeah. And I mean, what I would touch on as well in terms of the legacy organizations, let's call it that, and how we're trying to, again, integrate everything. I've already said a little bit with farm in isolation sort of covers the life of field, but with the other products and services, you know, we've tried. There's been a little bit of thinking in terms of not just fixed on hardware delivery, but then maintaining that customer relationship throughout the life of field, through the sort of operations and maintenance phase into late life, and then, as I mentioned, certainly as we're seeing in the UK, but it's starting to come in other locations into that decommissioning phase as well. You know?
Yeah.
So it's a mix of the product and then where and when in the life cycle are we sort of what are touch points and how are we connecting?
Yeah. I've always been a firm believer, sales sells the first one and service sells anyone after that. Right. And, you know, you don't, in my opinion, with a product that is high tech as this in a installation at the seabed floor, you don't get to 100 units by just selling products, right? You get there by servicing your partners and making sure that, you know, I use a word, they're covered up with love, and you ensure that there's that mutual success, right?
That 100%, that connection, being able to support them and achieve their goals, and then maintaining that relationship, Dave. Yeah, absolutely. It's so important. And genuinely, you're right. We've had fantastic support here, and particularly here, but also down in West Africa. The customers that we worked with, you know, the early adopters took a bit of a risk with a little UK company that brought up some of this technology. Now we've got there's the capacity and the capability now with hunting to be, you know, just bring more to the table, if you will. You know?
Sure.
But it's been great to have that kind of support since the early days. The first one of these being installed in 2016, and now, as you say, today we're celebrating delivery of the 100th unit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where do you see the company going from here, Neil? Are there any other cool technologies that you see that, whether it's additional tech you can bolt on to a FAM that hunting is looking at, or that you guys see based upon where the market is headed? Because it looks like we're having kind of this shift back to offshore.
Yeah.
There was kind of this, like, I want to use like depression, right? But there was a lack of investment in offshore, for a number of years, and it seems like it is coming back.
Yeah. Well,
because the volume, you can't get that volume anywhere else.
Yeah. No, great question, and we're fortunate in terms of the timing of that. So one of the things we've done in Subsea Technologies over the last 12 months is pool some of their sort of cleverest guys, I would call it. I'm careful saying that because everybody is fantastic within the team, but a core team to look at R&D and new product development. So across the three legacy businesses, they brought that team together to look at all of these potential opportunities, how we could expand the offering, again, regardless of the individual businesses, what we can do for Subsea Technologies and expand it. For ourselves here on the farm side, we're looking to go to higher pressures. We're looking to go to some little subtle developments whereby, as an example, you might have you mentioned earlier on a 23, 15 well development, and a lot of tiebacks getting done now. So you're not building this massive infrastructure, but you've got opportunity to add 2, 3, 4, 5 more wells in there. And how can you do that? And you've got no ability to connect anymore because the portfolio is full, so to speak. We're working on some stuff using the farm to enable a very simple, very, very simple way to I guess, create additional tie-in points. So we're working on that. We're committed to do that this through this summer and bring that to bear. Taking that a little bit further, we're looking at, I guess, how would I call it? Careful what I say here. It's not super secret. I want to make sure I get it right. Almost further simplify the whole development plan in terms of potentially removing some of the huge lumps of architecture and use farm to build out that 15 well development, but more over time. So you again, your initial upfront install and the commitment and everything like that is a lot simpler, a lot less, but you have the capability through farm to build a sort of distributed network, let's call it like that, over time as you develop the field out. That's two big areas.
So to kind of summarize that, Neil, you guys are enabling customers to get scalability very quickly on the front side and be able to build that out over time without, that's really important.
Yeah, it's exactly it. I mean, it's an extension of the core thinking around farm in terms of, de-risking the front end and giving that flexibility. But it's thinking a little bit more longer term about trying to build out your facility, give it that scalability, as you say. Yeah,
it's super cool. Yeah. And the reason I like to bring up, where the business is going is there's a lot of people of the opinion that, oil and gas is this old, archaic, not a fun, high-tech business, right? And us as people who've been in oil and gas for our careers, right, we know that's not the case. There's a lot of young people that want to get into technology, work at Google, have this really awesome work-life balance, which we can have that in oil and gas too.
Yep.
What are you guys doing to attract young talent and bring them into this space? Because we always talk about this big crew change.
Yeah.
It happens every, 10 to 15 years.
Yeah. Back home, so we've had the ability, being part of Hunting, we have the ability to bring in some young engineers into our team, some young project managers into our team, and starting to grow them and build them. I touched on it earlier. I mean, for me, offshore oil and gas and working within the oil field, some of the really cool technologies I've been able to work on, international travel and ability to work around the globe, that's still there, and that very much is an opportunity for people. So we've been looking on that side. We over back in the UK we are behind the guys a little bit here in terms of building out or sort of assembly and test capability. I know over here, the hunting team and the Subsea Technologies team are starting to partner with a couple of colleges out here and bringing in some of the crafts to be able to come on apprenticeships and then get involved and working with the guys here in the workshop. So hitting it sort of from those two angles, Dave, that makes sense, you know, some of the back office folk and then some of the real hands-on guys. Because as we start to expand particularly the service offering as well, you know, running those crews offshore, they have the right competencies, having a passion to get offshore and be working in some remote locations. You know, it's challenging, but if you get the right people, it is a fantastic opportunity for people to grow and develop. And who knows, you know, you start working within an environment like this, and in 10 to 15 years' time, that person could be running a big operation offshore, could be running a business. Who knows? You know, there is that ability, and hunting definitely gives that opportunity to people to grow and take their careers almost wherever they want.
Yeah, have that upward mobility.
Yeah,
that's important because I think because of how saturated the tech space is, everybody wants to grow, right? But if you've got this very large competitive pool of everybody wanting to pour into technology, you know, folks have opportunity to add different perspectives coming into the oil and gas industry. And that's something that, you know, with team, you know, in this business that I'm working on building, we've tried to bring in a diversified group of individuals, and honestly don't have oil and gas experience, because you want like a fresh set of eyes to look at a problem. Because we can usually live in a box. Because shoot, you've been in a business for 20 years or an industry for 20 years, you fall into that, you know, kind of, hey, this is how we've always done it, right? Yeah. And I think that's really cool. Y'all are getting into the colleges and trademanships and apprenticeships, because college isn't for everybody, right? You know, a great, you know, welder who has fantastic skill that is machining and welding that piece up, you know, that is a unbelievable career. It's very fulfilling, and you can make great money at it. So that's awesome that y'all are.
Two of our young guys in the last 12 or 15 months. I mean, they've been down into Ghana, West Africa, offshore West Africa, Guyana. They were down in Guyana last summer, you know, and they came back. They were just buzzing. It was great to see actually their enthusiasm. And to your point about them bringing things to bear, some of us old dinosaurs when they're saying, "What about doing like this? Look, if you use this little bit of software and do X, Y, and Z," and you go, okay.
You learn me something new.
So no, it's fantastic to have that energy around the organization, you know.
I love it. I think what you guys are doing here is really cool. Congratulations to you and the team, Neil, for this awesome milestone that y'all have hit. If people are interested in connecting with you, are you on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll drop Neil's LinkedIn profile.
Yep.
And if folks want to find out about hunting and also what you guys are doing here with the fam, do you recommend they go to your website? And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's obviously go to the website. You'll see the complete offering of hunting. The Subsea Technologies is one click away through there, and that will take you into the full suite of what we do in Subsea Technologies. But for sure, put me down there, and it'll be great to link in with folks to get connected with folks on LinkedIn.
Awesome. We'll do that, man. And I appreciate you having me again. It was a pleasure.
No.
And need to get over to Scotland sometime and have some haggis.
Oh, brilliant. We'll go and catch one.
I love it. Well, folks, thank you for joining us on this week's episode. Remember that, you know, oil and gas is what energizes the world. And wake up in the morning, enjoy a cup of coffee to get energized. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the Energy Espresso.